Hola, ¿qué tal? Soy Dani Mantilla. Estamos en el Festival de San Sebastián, en el set audiovisual interior de Repsol y Kinótico, aquí en el Hotel María Cristina. Hoy nos acompaña Harris Dickinson, director, actor, que estrena su primera película, Urchin. Welcome, Harris.
Gracias.
Every year we see a lot of first-time films by actors, and everyone agreed that yours was the one to watch. I had the chance to do it in Cannes, and I loved the film. Congratulations. When did you realize that you were also a filmmaker, not just an actor?
Yeah, thanks for saying that, man, and thanks for having me. I knew that I wanted to make films from a young age. I think I was making skateboard videos as a kid in my area, and then I felt this sort of urge to write and bring people together, but I didn't really know what it meant. I didn't really understand if there was a job in that world, you know, like I didn't know if that was a realistic thing. And then I started to act as well, and then I've felt like acting weirdly became more realistic because I started to meet other people that were acting. I started to meet other people that were doing theatre, and then I thought, oh, okay, maybe I can do this as well because I also love it. But yeah, I think the directing has been something that has really been, you know, number one for since I can remember, you know. And then when I had some time off, I started to realize that my creative output wasn't necessarily being met with the right kind of challenge, you know. So then to make my film really was the ultimate test for that. And yeah.
What was the seed for this character, for this anti-hero?
I think I was really interested in telling a character study about someone who was ultimately really flawed, you know, someone who was really battling against themselves and try and take the audience on a journey to really test their own morality as well and test their own tolerance of a character. I was really intrigued about addiction. I'd had people close to me that had you know, struggled with this, and cyclical behavior was really fascinating to me and really sad to me how easily we can fall back into habits, you know. So yeah, it became something that I had to say, I think.
We know by your tattoos that you are a big fan of Ken Loach. Have you always had that interest on social issues stories?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I was very lucky that my family introduced me to that kind of cinema quite young. My mum was very tuned into like the plays of the day that Mike Leigh used to do and a lot of Shane Meadows stuff, and I just felt like it was stories that were closer to my circumstances, you know, the filmmakers that I was encountering in those worlds were, and the characters that I was encountering in those worlds were people that I understood. But yeah, that's also a part of why the story exits that genre, I think. Like it's a departure in my mind from just the sort of linear social realism. I never was interested in trying to make something close to documentary. You know, I think the truth of the story is all based in the fact that we spent a long time investigating, you know, the world of homelessness, addiction, prison reform, probation, and mental health, and we had a lot of people come in and interrogate the script. And so it meant that the foundations of the film for me had to be very realized and investigated, but we weren't tied to the absolute truth of them. It meant we could depart for cinema, you know, without sounding, yeah.
Frank Delane is such a revelation. He has been working for a while, but I think this is like his first big showcase. Did you know since the start that you didn't want to have like the lead role in this film?
You mean for me to play?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think I was ever going to be capable of doing that. I knew that it took so much brain power and concentration that if I was ever to be in it more than, you know, the small role, I was, and even that role I wasn't supposed to do. We had someone drop out a week before, and so I ended up stepping in to play Nathan. But it was hard even doing that, you know, just a small role. It was very, it splits the mind in a way that I find very uncomfortable. Yeah, very strange, very very difficult. But no, I mean Frank is just someone who embodied the role so perfectly. It needed someone who also had kind of like charisma, you know, and that was strange, and that really embraced the comedy in the script. And Frank has a physical humor to him, inevitably. So yeah, he was perfect, and he's someone who just really, you know, throws himself into it and doesn't hold back, and it shows. Yeah.
You have worked with a lot of really amazing filmmakers. Did you show the screenplay or an early cut of the film to any of them, like to share notes?
Yeah, I think I shared a cut with Helena, who did Baby Girl, and also Ruben, who did Triangle. And then the script, I think I kept the script relatively. I didn't invite too many notes because I already had a lot of people. You know, we had BBC and BFI and a few other finances that we had to bring into it. So it wasn't something I was looking for like too many, you know, thoughts on. But yeah, the edit stage definitely opened it up to some friends and colleagues. Yeah.
I remember watching an interview with James McAvoy where he talked about the class ceiling in the British industry. You belong to a working class family. Have you perceived that while working in the film, that the elites are telling most of stories in the UK?
I mean, I think that was the case once upon a time. It definitely feels like it's shifted. I think even the fact that it keeps being brought up is probably proof that it's shifting. The tides are shifting. So I don't necessarily agree with that sentiment anymore. I mean, it's kind of inevitable that elitism exists and nepotism exists. It's kind of it's a part of every industry. I think that the entertainment industry is kind of notoriously hard to get into, and so it requires a lot of the time people that are potentially in more comfortable positions to maintain their place in it in the early start of it. But I don't know. I mean, it feels like projects that have excelled, you know, even if we look at Charlotte Wells's After Sun or Charlotte Reagan's Scrapper, which I was in, you know, there's Molly Manning Walker, like there's a amazing platform filmmakers coming out of the UK now that are from all different backgrounds. So in my mind, it's like, yeah, it's definitely not as bad as it was. I think there was an old guard that is slowly shifting, you know.
You have worked a lot in Hollywood. That this is a very British film, a small film, in the best way possible. Did you know since the start that you wanted to do something like in your house, in your country?
Yeah, I think I'd sort of had a desire to make something in my community, you know, the area I kind of grew up in and places that I recognized. And yeah, I think you know, the hotel in the film is, I used to work in that hotel, and I used to work on that patch of grass where he did the litter picking. So it's all very personal sort of locations as well. But I don't know. I don't have like it's not like I have like some allegiance or rule to the UK. I definitely want to make films elsewhere as well. Yeah.
I read that you had been writing and preparing this film for 7 years. Let's hope that the second one doesn't take that long. Are you thinking about writing the next one maybe while you're doing the Beatles, because it's going to be such a massive production?
Yeah, I have a script for my next one, but it's probably something I need to spend some more time on. Again, like the reason the other one took so long wasn't necessarily because I think it was because I was so new to doing it, and I still am, and I will always be learning. But like in that scenario, I didn't necessarily expect to get it made. So there was a long time where it was just sitting around and I was trying to develop it. But no, I mean, I think I'll continue developing this script next year, over the next year while I'm shooting Beatles, and then see how it feels on the other side. And if anyone wants to make it, then yeah.
You have been a newcomer after Beats Rats. Now you are a newcomer after Urchin. What's the difference to the reception and being seen as a new face in the industry and as a new voice as a filmmaker?
Well, I think there's definitely like more autonomy when you've made a film. It feels like a sense of ownership over something that you've done and you've been a part of from the very beginning. I think that's really important to me, is like how much this has been my my baby for the last 6 years or so, and so that feels particularly special. And then yeah, I mean the reception we had at Cannes was really meaningful and really not something that we expected, and it wasn't something I take for granted, so to play at these festivals and present the film and to be met with a nice response, it validates you and it makes the film feel worth it in a way. But yeah, I think that there was so much fear when I presented the film for the first time, like so much fear. There still is fear around bringing it out. It's not come out yet. It comes out in October, and I just have this sort of worry about if people are gonna like it. But at the end of the day, I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of everyone who was involved in it. So I think that's like something I can really stand by. And it's not a perfect film, but I'm looking forward to developing and growing as a filmmaker and challenging myself. So let's see.
You're still very young, but you have worked in a lot of film sets, and you get to be a witness of the way a lot of people work. Is there anything that you saw and you realized, I want that or I don't want that in the set that I rule, in a way?
Yeah, I think a lot of film sets are like designed really well to encourage creativity, right? Like the best filmmakers I've worked with know how to put together a set of people, being crew, that will enable the best environment, like really support the vision. And it's harder said than done, because a lot of the time not everyone is sensitive to what's going on, or not everyone has an understanding of like how to create that environment. And I think that the bad sets that I've been on are when people don't really want to be there, which is totally understandable. Not everyone enjoys every position in film or whatever, and some people just do it just for a job, and others do it because they love it. So for me, the best sets I've been on are normally the smaller films where the stakes are high and the importance of the story is like, is at the forefront. Not to sound like that's the most important, but everyone is like gearing up towards the same collective goal, So yeah, just sensitivity, and yeah, when there's a lot of people that don't love it and that are just not sensitive to it, then it's become something different, in my opinion.
What was the biggest challenge for you? Because watching Urchin, I'm thinking about the tone, about how we have a really complex, deep character in the middle of the story, someone you want to root for, but at the same time, it's like an interesting guy. We have the surrealist elements, the comedy, the drama. There are a lot of things in this film.
Yeah, I mean, it was a challenge to balance those elements. I feel like I was really testing my own kind of naivety with it as well, maybe, to try things that I was interested in but weren't necessarily realistic. And I think that that's just how my brain works, and it's interested in the surreal and, enjoys the abstract. So I think that it felt important to be able to try those things, whether they work or not. For me, it was like, for Mike and his brain and how his brain is processing things. I was really intrigued about how to take us elsewhere as well, you know, the nature in the film and the stillness in the film. And also we live in a world that is anything but normal, you know, so to try and represent it absolutely realistic feels wrong, you know.
Ken Loach, the Dardennes are getting older. Do you think that we have like a next generation of filmmakers that want to show like maybe the not so cute side of life, or are we struggling to see more social stories like Urchin?
Well, I think the reality is that films like this are hard to get made. Not everyone wants to finance films that are about hard subjects. It's not a secret to say that, you know. So there are a lot of filmmakers that want to tackle the darker side of who we are and the darker side of society, but I don't think they're all necessarily getting made, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's a lack of interest for it. I think we underestimate audiences' ability to be let into a world like this. I mean, you know, yeah, this film took a while to get financed. It wasn't necessarily like a straightforward path to getting it made. So, and that makes sense. You know, that makes sense. People want escapism as well. People want to sort of hide in something, which I totally understand. And that's also why I didn't want to be heavy-handed with the themes. I didn't want to like blame anyone. I didn't want to force feed any information. I didn't want to like bash anyone on the head with sort of socio-political values. I didn't want to say, you know, this is wrong, this is right. I just wanted to present a character moving through a world with a really precarious set of circumstances and then let the rest be up for conversation. You know, it's not about me saying, you know, any sense of like moral high ground, really. That was important for me, that I'm not telling on what's wrong or right or what to feel or what's wrong with our society. I think it was just like a general comment on one person, you know, and the world around him.
And to conclude this interview, our friends from filming, who are going to release the film here in Spain, would like to know, which film would you recommend to your 18-year-old self?
And
Why?
And why? Okay. I think I would do Fellini's 8.5. Maybe because for the same reason we spoke about in terms of like fantasy and surrealism. I think if I watched that as an 18-year-old and I watched it properly in a good screening room, I might have got some early ideas. Yeah.
Thank you, Harris. Please enjoy San Sebastián, and I hope you have the time to go surfing, maybe, to our beaches. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Seguimos con más entrevistas aquí en este set de Kinótico y Repsol. Hasta pronto.